before we get started, I want to talk to you guys about what we can anticipate in 2021. But before we jump into kind of a future year and what we're looking forward to, I think it's really important to reflect on the past and reflect on 2020. And I want to turn the tables a little bit. So this might be a little bit different for a webinar, but I want to start with a few questions for you. And I'd love for you to answer these rhetorically. Please don't put them in the chat, keep them in your own head. You can write them down. I really want this to be a reflection about your process. So here's the first question. Again, let's not write these down in the chat. These are really centered around your process as a broker. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best and smoothest mortgage experience you could give your clients, what do you rate the experience you offer? And again, don't put these in the chat. This is for yourself and your own team. What I want you to think about is the borrower. I want you to think about, do they know what they're expected to do? Do they know what's next in the process? Can they use technology to go at their own pace, or are they waiting on your phone call? So I'll repeat the question one more time. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best and smoothest mortgage experience you could give your clients, what do you rate the experience you offer? That's question one. Jumping on to question two, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the fastest mortgage process you could deliver your client, what would you rate your team's process? So think about, at which point is the borrower waiting? How long are they waiting for their documents list? How long before you're able to intake the application? Are they waiting on your emails? Are they waiting on e-signature packages? So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the fastest process for your client, what would you rate your team's process? And the last question today is one about service. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how proud are you of your mortgage process? In other words, would you teach other brokers to do it your way? Are you confident in the way that you're receiving that application? Are you regularly receiving referrals from borrowers who are using the word simple? That process was simple. Would you recommend your tech process to other brokers? So again, last time I'll repeat this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how proud are you of your mortgage process? So these three questions that I just asked you are really, in my opinion, the pillars of the broker's process. They are about simplicity, they're about speed, and they're about service. And so your score, if you add those together out of 30, in my opinion, really reflect your process in 2020. And it's a good guideline for, well, where do you want to take that in 2021? And so when we're talking about the role of technology and what a mortgage professional can anticipate in 2021, I want to make it very clear that here at Lendesk, we've centered our technology and the way we build technology this year around you and your process and the process you're able to offer your clients. And we want you to be proud in that process, proud of that process. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this presentation here. Like I said, my name is Carter Zimmerman, and I am the Chief Product Officer here at Lendesk. You'll also be spending some time with Albert Kalu from Marathon Mortgage, and I'll be able to turn that over to him later in the presentation. We will be also accepting, we will be doing a Q&A at the end of this presentation. So if you want to write a question in the chat, if you want to write something down, make sure you don't forget it. We'll be happy to do that at the end of the presentation. So just a little bit about Lendesk. Lendesk is a Canadian technology company that's all about really modernizing the mortgage industry here in Canada. Our products are Finmo, Lender Spotlight, Gateway, and Enterprise. The user base is quite large. It's over 10,000 mortgage brokers and 200 lenders using its products. And then lastly, we hold ourselves to the highest security standards with SOC 2 compliance, and all data is stored and encrypted on Canadian servers. So I'm going to tie this back into kind of the questions I asked you earlier. I asked, how are you gonna move this number, this score about speed, simplicity, and service? How are we going to move the needle on that in 2021? And I think the number one question that I personally get asked is, how do I choose a technology for myself or my brokerage that's going to improve those pillars of being a broker, or those three main qualities of my process? What technology am I going to choose? And I think before this day and age, there was a lot of fear. Frankly, there's a lot of hesitation in terms of, well, if I get too invested in this one particular product, how am I going to change later if a better one crops up? I think the landscape's dramatically changed. And I think that the technology in the Canadian mortgage space has gotten to a point where there's a low barrier of entry. And so my number one consideration for when you're choosing technology that's really going to move the needle in terms of your process is ask for a demo. Even better, try it out. Actually use the product that you're going to double down on, and really understand obviously I think a free trial is just a no-brainer. Don't base your decision around a feature checklist. There's no, if someone says, oh, we have a borrower portal, actually understand how that borrower portal converts, understand the process, and not just reading it as a feature unless. Try it out. So that's my point number one. And when choosing technology, is to try it out. The second is, I believe it should be intuitive to use and quick to learn. And here's why I say that, is that the first 20 minutes in a platform, if you're confused and you have no idea what you're doing, you're basically understanding the way that platform approaches solving problems. So if you're confused on some of the basic features, on some of the way that it submits to lender, you can remember as a new broker, you might be in a platform and you're just like, I have no idea how this works. To me, that's an indication of future problems. The way that a platform solves a current problem is the way that they will solve a future problem. So you're saying, oh, well, this technology doesn't have this particular feature. Well, I would ask you to look back. Do you like the way that they're receiving applications? Do you like the way that they're triggering smart documents in the case of Finmo? Do you like the way that they're collecting documents? If you like these things, it's very likely that you will like every feature that they come out with in the future. You can think of it like building a house, right? So if the foundation is simple and concise and you really understand it, as that technology grows, you can feel good about making your home there, because everything on top of it is going to be really clean and really intuitive. In fact, here at Lendesk, we say this a lot, that simplicity is genius, and it really is. That's really hard to do, is to build simplicity into a product. So I think that you should look for that, because that's going to flow down to your borrower experience and going to drive more conversions for you. Here's another one, and it kind of feeds onto the kind of like another component of trying it out, right? And it's actually try the borrower portal and process. So ask yourself, would I be proud to send this and to take a client through this process? It's amazing to me how many brokers that I've met who, when they get into actually deciding on a technology, they don't actually go through the borrower experience. I think that should be one of the first things to try. And in fact, I think it would be great to send it to a close friend and actually get feedback. So when, it's amazing when you're asking for feedback, how fast you can level up your experience. You send it out to one of your friends, they go through, and something that as an outsider myself, a little bit of an outsider from this industry, I've gotten my hands into it, and I've realized that sometimes you get too laser focused in as a broker on your specific brokering tasks and the way you talk about it, the way the words, the language that we use. A client who is a first-time home buyer has no idea of some of the most basic concepts. So by taking a practice borrower through the process, they're going to say things like, oh, well, why do I, this is maybe a dumbed down example, but why do I even need to provide that document? Why do I even need a main form of identification? And you're going to be amazed at, like, when you say conditions, the term conditions, that doesn't mean much to a borrower. What they think of that as is a document I have to upload. And so there's language, and I think that by just going through the process with one of your borrowers or a sample borrower, you're going to learn a lot about how to improve your conversions and your process. The last thing I'd like to say on this when choosing a technology is more features isn't better. More isn't better. We we believe that, again, that the simplicity component is the thing you should be looking for. There's a point where every technology has to make a decision about the specialization. I think a long time in this industry, there was this idea of what I call like the unicorn, which is a software that does everything for me. And it's mythical because it is there's always preference. So maybe a technology can check the boxes, and when you look at a feature list, it's gonna hit every point of everything that you want. But when you get into it, you're actually not gonna like the way that they decided to do email campaigns. You're not gonna like the way that they decided to do their CRM follow-up. And then you're gonna need customizations. And now you're relying on a technology solution that wasn't built as robust as a Salesforce, as a Pipedrive, as a Blue Mortgage, one of our partners, and these are built to be flexible. And so I really encourage people to look for specializations and to not seek out the all-in-one. Like when we're looking at 2021, I think you're seeing every one of the tech providers circle back to what I think Finmo did well, and I think what Lendesk did well, which is be flexible, be able to connect to multiple solutions and have an integrated system and an integrated process with technology. So let's talk about, let me go to the next slide here. I think this is, we'll end here. This is gonna be, I think, what a lot of you were wanting to see, which is, well, okay, yeah, these concepts are great. What are the features that are gonna move the needle? When we go back to speed, service, and simplicity, what are the features that Lendesk is looking at in 2021 that are gonna help me with that? So first, we have Lender Spotlight. Many of you love this product. It's one of, I think, the industry's favorite tools. And new on the roadmap for Lender Spotlight is moving into and exploring the alternative lender space. So obviously, those deals are complicated, and as rules and regulations are rolled out, we want to be at the forefront of helping you solve the deal placement issue for not just your A deals, but for every deal. There's a couple other cool Lender Spotlight features. Some of them involve some UI changes that are just going to make it even easier for you to see a lender and actually navigate through and find the rate information you need faster. We're calling that grouping lenders, and there's more information coming out on that. On the Finmo side of things, I think that one of the major projects that we've been working towards over the last year really is what we're calling direct to lender. And what I mean by that is Finmo right now is able to collect an application, and then it actually pushes that to expert and then on to the lender. Well, if you compare that to the criteria that I stated before, and apologies, there's an ambulance going by outside. When you take that process of pushing to expert and then actually pushing onto a lender, and you compare it to speed, service, simplicity, it's not checking any of those boxes. So what we've done is actually integrated with some of the existing lender connections at Lendesk to be able to push a deal that goes from Finmo to a lender and get a response without ever leaving Finmo. Huge in the industry, and I think that, like I said before, if you like the way that Finmo's done everything else, you're gonna love the way that they do submission. With that, it comes the MPP integration, digital links, PDF generation, and you're also gonna love the way that we've actually built document disclosure generation. It's an easy way to take the data from the application and actually create forms that are gonna work for your business. And it's really, I'm actually quite excited. It's funny because a lot of these are forward-looking for 2021. And as soon as I write this slide, our team has already done a lot of heavy lifting on a lot of these features. And it just speaks to our team's ability to move quickly and be efficient. And I think that's pretty rare in a software company, that they aren't pushing features back because there's constant delays. There are tricky problems, but I really respect the way our team has managed it. Furthermore, we're going to have automated compliance. So, it seems intuitive in Finmo, you already have all of the documents there, and you're already approving those documents. Why can't you just add those to the compliance list? So you take two main forms of identification, you approve it when the borrower submits it. That actually goes onto a compliance tab and checks the box, so you don't have to download and re-upload. It's just an easy way to do your compliance, and it's very automated. A couple huge ones that I don't think have been announced publicly in any forum yet. We are very excited to have tax document packages and ordering directly from Finmo with one of the key industry providers on the way. That is weeks, not months away. And then bank statements as well is a huge requested feature, and it's just the ability for a borrower to connect with their bank and for a broker to pull in those bank statements to just save a little bit of time. And lastly, there are some huge. We keep it under wraps because we believe in innovation, and I think the secrecy of kind of like where we want to go with this. But there are a lot of brokerage level insights that we're wanting to build towards in Q1. So we're discovering that. I'm not going to say too much about it. I'm running out of time here as well. But just know that there's some pretty amazing brokerage level features coming that will be announced towards the end of Q1. In conclusion, I just want to say Lendesk is committed to building technology that makes you proud of your process. We're here to help you in the simplicity, service, and speed categories. We already have Finmo Pro and Lender Spotlight at $49 a month. And go ahead and try it out. Like I said, it's a great piece of technology for you to improve your process this year. And so I'm going to turn this over to Albert at Marathon Mortgage.
Hey, Carter. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Okay, so where shall we start, Carter, do you feel, for this conversation?
Yeah, I have your slide up here. It's really a combination of where we've been and where are we headed at Marathon.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, actually, it was interesting to listen to you there for the first 15, 20 minutes, because a lot of those things that you wanted to be rhetorical for your attendees were, in fact, very similar patterns in terms of how we handled Marathon. So when we put up here, where have we been, we had to ask very similar tough questions, because before I came in here months ago to sort of try and transform the company, we asked, what is the service like? What is the broker experience like? Is it satisfactory? Are we confident that we can ask for a broker's business and sustain that business in the way that they need us to? And more importantly, the clients that are holding the keys or expecting a check for a refinance at the end of the day, that's the most important driving force for us. And to be quite frank and very transparent with all the attendees, we, as far as I was concerned, we failed in all boxes. If you picked a box in any way, shape, or form, we just felt that we weren't good enough. The service was terrible. The systems weren't compatible to be scalable. Our processes were weaker than they should have been. We just had such a long way to go. So, I did say very openly in the marketplace back in, I would say, July, early August, as memory serves, that we have a tough crawl. We had a tough crawl right till Christmas. And on top of it, and I probably should have started by saying thank you to the attendees for hearing us out and wishing them all well during this continued COVID nonsense. It's just an unreal pandemic. But anyway, having said that, we had to endure all that we just explained while going into a COVID situation. It's been the weirdest climate I've ever been in, personally. I took the company over months ago, as I said, and we've been working remotely since March. I have never at this point been able to assemble my team in person, the entire organization, but we managed. It's, if this hasn't forced us to rip apart business, even when business is going well, then, I would say that we're probably not looking deep enough under the hood for all our businesses and processes, Carter. But, so here's where we are. We know we had a lot to do. We had two things that were really attractive to me before taking on this role, which was we had really deep funding. So we have a lot of great stakeholders that really want to see us succeed. And we've always been sort of kind of known for having really good rates, really good compensation, but we just missed the back half. So what we've done is, through the help of Jason Kennedy, who's sort of my right arm, he's actually on the call, as you know, Carter, with me. Jason Kennedy is actually the VP of underwriting for us. We literally took the car right down to the chassis. We implemented new systems. We hired a whole bunch of new talent to make sure they understand the grind. It's one of the DNA pieces in our company we're pretty proud of. We all sort of been on both sides of the ledger. Me personally, I think most people know what my background was before coming here. And I think that the broker grind is really underestimated by our competitors. I've heard language for a great many years about things that aren't the most flattering for brokers, that they don't get it and they don't understand the business, and their efficiencies stink and these kinds of things. And I've often said to myself, I wish these lenders would actually take a day and get off the high horse and actually sit in a broker's chair and understand exactly what they go through. They are so surrounded by challenges. They got pressures from banks and branches. They have pressures from clients. They have to explain why rules are what they are. They have to explain why documentations that we tend to call conditions are what they are. And I don't think we've lost that. And I think that's been in the very thread of everything we've done, Carter, to be better every day. And we don't want to apologize anymore. We've done that for being lousy. We're now actually trying to regain the confidence in the marketplace. So more specifically, on December 14th, behind the scenes, we actually deployed a brand new underwriting system. We didn't say much because we wanted to make sure the experience was pretty cool. And here's where it took us. So I'm telling everybody on this call very openly that prior to this system launch, most of our process was manual. It was actually quite shocking. 70%, 70 of an underwriter's time was actually using manual processes, spreadsheets to determine whether or not we had a deal. So an underwriter in the past, before I got here, could spend 2-3 hours on a file only to get to a broker and say, we don't have a file here, we have a decline. That day's gone. I mean, that's just actually ridiculous. We've moved an underwriter average of maybe 2 files a day to now we're actually, in some cases, 10 to 15 or 10 to 13 a day. But one of the things we actually changed to enhance the turnaround was actually change the process, because previously we used to have a process in which it was the underwriter would underwrite and then we would turn it over to a fulfillment specialist to manage all the documents. And again, I just made comment that our team understands the grind and the DNA of a broker. And one of the very first things I imparted on the team, and they all agreed, was, I don't think most brokers appreciate having to spend all this time with an underwriter and then have to retell or reshape the story again for someone because they're asking about a document. So we actually put a stick of dynamite in that and got rid of it. So Jason's been phenomenal in reshaping the team so that the broker experiences us. It's the same person all the way through. Now, so we've taken the commitment process. We are now able to respond within 24 hours. Actually, we're a little bit less at the moment. Now, save and accept to manage proper expectations. When there's a file that's got a little bit of questioning, if you will, or needs an exception, or is just outside the guideline and we have to escalate, obviously we're going to inflate that, but we're at least telling the broker that it's going to be a little bit longer. We're getting down to doc reviews within days, where I'm going to tell you straight as an arrow, used to be weeks. So we're now also looking at expanding products. So we've been very, very fortunate that 2 things have occurred. Brokers have been extremely tolerant and supportive because they understand the importance of having a new lender come to the market. And all those that are stakeholders like investors and funders and the like really bought in. So what that means for the broker is we're able to maintain a really heavy duty compensation model while absolutely keeping those rates right where they're accustomed to seeing. But we've also expanded product line really quick. So we are very competitive in pricing as it comes to uninsurable conventional. We have won the hearts of the 3 insurers, which we didn't have previously. So obviously Sagen, CG, and CMHC. And we're certainly not stopping there. So we're expanding the product scope as best we can. I know that's a lot. I'm trying to really put it into a tight pod there for you, Carter.
No, it's great. Yeah.
Anything else I should expand on, you think?
No, I think that we can let the Q&A kind of guide us a little bit, Albert. But I mean, it seems like you and I are speaking from the same page today in terms of it being about process. And it seems like you guys have done quite the overhaul. And I'm excited to see what 2021 has for Marathon.
Yeah, and Carter, I hope I'm not being overstepping here, but obviously you talked a lot about technology because you got a phenomenal background, and as I said, I think most people know where my background was, and one of the things that I think is really important is I think there's a lot of fake promises, and that doesn't come out of the Lendesk team or the Finmo team. And if experience has brought me anything that I can pass on to the brokers, there's too much assumption that all of a sudden there's a magic pill and a piece of software that's going to change their business. Software isn't there to change your business, there to augment your business and generally to enhance the experience at all levels. And I think you guys are doing a great job with that, to be frank with you. And we're trying to do the same in our world.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, well said. So Nicole has a question. We'll go ahead and open it up. Nicole jumped in and asks, what is your lending area, Albert?
That is such a great question. We get that all the time. So believe it or not, the only place we are not actually in business with, to oversimplify, is Quebec at the moment. In fact, I'll tell you, we are licensed there. We're just not set up to set up originations. And one of the nuggets we do have, is the Nicole, is that we have a pretty strong policy that's a little bit more competitive than our competitors. And what I mean by that is because we have all three insurers, our internal policy is kind of sort of like this. If the insurer is comfortable going there, so are we, which probably would explain why we're starting to really do some good business in the Atlantic provinces and Manitoba.
Great. Yeah, opening it up to questions. Please send them in. We have the chat or the Q&A open. I'm going to also pull up and make sure that the chat, some people might be throwing it into the chat as well. Question from Miriam is, do you have any plans to do uninsurable mortgages soon, Albert?
Yeah, actually, I just mentioned that. So we got aggressive in the uninsurable back in August. So we are bang on with that product, and we are extremely strong in pricing.
Fantastic. Just I got a great shout out. Albert just submitted my first file to Marathon on Monday, and the turnaround was fantastic.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Who was that?
about to send another file your way. Michelle Aston.
Oh, thank you so much, Michelle. That's exactly what we're working so hard to hear. Thank you.
Awesome. Keeping it going. How many underwriters and staff do you carry? And then the turnaround times. I think we answered that. You're under 24 hours right now for more of, if it's not a wonky deal, but yeah. Underwriters and staff. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, we have literally doubled the headcount in the underwriting team, but because we brought in the system we just talked about, it's as though we hired 18 underwriters, if you can believe that. So we are growing. You probably saw a lot of the ads, and there will be more coming in terms of augmenting the team. In fact, just if I can give a quick shout out to some attendees, we have Andrea Twizo, who's now one of the latest RVPs here in Ontario East, Justin Terrio, who's one of the RVPs, Jillian DuPont, and Lisa, who are out of the BC province. So they're here with us today.
Fantastic.
So, sorry, I didn't actually, we're looking at about 24 right now. Sorry, Carter.
Okay, yeah, no worries.
That's pretty big for a small sort of almost a new startup.
Yeah, I got a question from Russ. How can we find out who our RVP is?
Absolutely. So Russ, what would help me is, well, I'll tell you what, just to not elongate this and make it boring, just send me a quick email. I'm pretty easy to find, and I'll get it to you because I don't know what geographic area Russ is in.
Yeah, perfect. A question from Christina, really around the Finmo and Lender Spotlight. Are Finmo and Lender Spotlight integrated? And the answer is yes. This was part of our combined offering and part of the product strategy. As deals come in and applications come into Finmo, they're automatically kind of, the data is actually, you can integrate the products. It's seamless. It's a couple clicks, and you're able to actually click, and it takes you into Lender Spotlight. It fills in all the criteria and shows you the available lenders. All right, let's see if there's any. Is Finmo intended for an individual to use or a collaborative team resource? That's Stephanie. The answer to that is it is both. So Finmo was built to be flexible, where there's a single member team. So you could sign up today, lendesk.com/Finmo, I believe. Christina, correct me if I'm wrong there. And you can actually sign up by yourself and use it. We also designed it to invite team members and use more of a assembly line approach. So if you want to actually assign different team members, they will get notifications throughout the life cycle of a deal. Let's say you have a doc assistant who's really in charge of collecting documents. It's, in my opinion, the best workflow to be able to just assign team members at different points in life cycles in the deal. All right, looking through a few of these questions. Will there be a workflow feature built in the future, similar to Pipedrive? That's from Mark, and this is in relation to Finmo. And so I think the idea is that we want to show different views for the way that you can see the data in Finmo. So once we have kind of this direct lender integration, we'll be examining how can we show the life cycle of a particular deal in kind of this, I think like these swim lanes is what everyone's used to, of viewing like different sections. It's something that we've definitely considered in terms of like workflows. So this would be like an if this, then that feature. So if the borrower clicks this, then trigger these actions. That's something that we handle through our Zapier integration, where you can build those custom flows yourself. And there's a lot of Finmo trainers who'd be happy to help you build those on top of Finmo. Looking at a few other questions here. CMHC just issued a horrendous, this is from Steve Wilson, a horrendous worst cases for you, Albert. So they issued a horrendous worst case scenario for the real estate market. How would you rate the level of stress on your mortgage portfolio?
Okay, let me see if I can be politically correct and polite. Let me just say this, and if
I'm
I can
giving you
just
the giving you the tough ones here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just say this. Let's all jump in for a second to a time capsule. And let's pretend that it's April 2020. If we all listened to the diagnosis that CMHC put forward on the marketplace last year, we would all have jumped off a cliff right around mid-April. Let's remember that the diagnosis or the prognostication from CMHC at that time is that there was going to be at least a 20% decline in activity, valuations, everything in the Canadian residential marketplace. Not only was that so ridiculously wrong, we actually just completed after the month of July, some of the not week marathon, the mortgage market specifically just had unprecedented volumes. A lot of it's fueled by demand and short supply. But 2021 is actually, by most people who are really in the game and capital markets, economists, on and on, are predicting 2021 to be the record year. The only challenges that we're having right now, as a real estate economy, if you want to call it that, is that the supply is shorter than the demand. So the valuations on homes are going to be going up a little bit higher than most people would think. But the one thing, the little caveat in all this, Carter, that's beneficial to everybody on the phone, which has nothing to do with Marathon or Lendesk or Finmo, is really that the percentage of Canadians that continue to believe mortgage brokers are more of a viable resource is increasing. That's a long way of saying mortgage brokers are getting more of the origination pie. So systems and processes and partnering with companies that care at the lending side is going to be really important. So 2021, keep the faith. It will be strong.
Great. Love that answer. Thanks for that, Albert. There is, we are using the Q&A panel. I'm trying to selectively choose a few of these. There's some people who may have thrown a question into the chat. We are using the Q&A widget. So there's a question from Dennis. What application should I use, Finmo or Lendesk? It seems like you both do the same thing, more or less. Yeah, good question, Dennis. With the acquisition of Finmo from Lendesk in October of last year, Finmo has become the primary tool for brokers, and Submit is currently more of an enterprise solution that has a little bit more custom functionality. We are pushing everyone currently towards Finmo. If you're a broker on this call, we think that Finmo is going to be more suitable at this time. And we're using, again, the tools from Lendesk, so Lender Spotlight that's integrated with it. And then also Lendesk has their lender network. And that's what Finmo and Lendesk, that's that, that 1 + 1 = 3 combination there. So that's the current integration. Hopefully that answers your question. Marlon asks, can you integrate Finmo to Pipedrive without using Zapier? It is possible, I think, with some of our REST hooks that we have. If you just sign up for Finmo and you go to your settings, it's possible with a developer you could potentially kind of sync up Finmo with any CRM, and it's a little bit more technical in nature if you're not using Zapier, but it is possible to do, and that will just be more and more flexible in 2021. As many other, like that's the strategy, right? Is to make Finmo kind of the center of the spoke and be able to connect with your tools. Wes asks, what type of extra features does Lendesk Platinum have? I know off the top of my head, you're going to get a lot more access to lenders. Christina or Lucy, I think Lucy's the product manager for Lendesk, for Lender Spotlight. And so that's where you're going to see that Platinum offering. If you guys could type an answer to Wes with a little bit more, that'd be awesome. Crystal asks, yeah, a lot of questions about the reps, like who's my rep, Albert. So that's definitely something that you might want to.
Yeah, I'll oversimplify it here. So in BC, Jillian DuPont, Kelowna, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba for the time being is Lisa. Ontario East. So if you look at the Highway 400 and think about eastward into the Atlantic provinces, that's Andrea Twizel. Just Ontario has everything west of the 400 and some of the Atlantic provinces. But I'll tell you what, just to make it easier, my email address is acollu@marathonmortgage.ca. Anybody on the calls, feel free to email me directly and I'll get you whatever information or shore up any things that weren't clear on this call.
Yeah, great. Christina, am I missing any questions here? It looks like I think that's, I do see one about calculation penalties. Albert,
Yeah.
you want to go into that level of detail? I'll read it to you.
I'll make it. You know, I saw it actually. I did see it, Carter. So I'll make it really easy, right? So I'll go where no lender wants to go. They like to dance around that one, like, you know, the music hasn't stopped. So here's the reality. We think that it's important to be transparent. So the immediate answer to the immediate question was, I think someone was asking to use the bond yields for IRD, something like that. So be more specific. We use what we call the reinvestment rate. So that's very different than using an IRD paying or calculate against posted rates. It is it's actually less of a penalty traditionally than the posted rate. I won't go any further because it just gets really boring. I'm happy to answer it or one of the RVPs. But the other thing that I want to tell you that we're very, very proud of is the IRD always seems to be this point of contention, and for great reason, I understand it. We have taken a position here at Marathon that we think consumers and brokers have the right to understand what they're embarking on in terms of what a calculation would be. We actually have it in all our commitments. It's right there, front and center. We don't hide from that conversation. We think people deserve that transparency.
Fantastic. Thanks, Albert. I will mention, Greg Paul pointed out, great guy at Lendesk. He pointed out that the reps are found in Lender Spotlight. So that's also another really easy way to figure out who your rep is. You just simply go into Marathon and you can contact your BDM from there. So awesome features I didn't even know we had. Like, this is just great. I love it.
That's great.
Any other questions? Like last call, I think that we've gotten through a good degree of them, and hopefully this has been really helpful. We'll leave it open for another 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'll just throw something very quick, Carter. So we have come out of a less than ideal situation. We're pretty proud of where we're going. We'll never accept that we're perfect because we're just, none of us are. We're imperfect creatures for sure. We know that we have to still incite trial from people who've never tried us before. So what we have decided to do as a team is we're expanding our I hate the word, but promotional compensation. So up until March 1st. And including March 1st, assuming I'm talking about a 5-year insured kind of mortgage, we're going to still pay 125 basis points so that, we get people to try us, and then it's on us to keep it and earn it.
Awesome. All right, well, we will conclude it there. I saw one last question that came through. You can sign up for the promo of Finmo and Lender Spotlight Platinum for $49 a month. You can do that at lendesk.com/Finmo. And that's an incredible deal. I mean, it was before the acquisition, Finmo was $99 for Pro a month, and Lender Spotlight was also a higher price. So you're getting a huge bundled deal there. We encourage you to go do it. We encourage you to jump into Lender Spotlight, check out Marathon. And yeah, in the chat, if you also wanted to check, Albert's also posted some information there about the BDMs. So any last words, Albert?
No, I mean, just thank you very much for all the people just to hear us out. We're really trying to be better every day for them.
Yeah, awesome. Likewise from the Lendesk side. Thanks, everyone. Signing off.